Hi everyone, Andrew here. How's everybody? So, in case you don't know this about me, Batman is my favorite superhero, and probably one of my, well, I would say yes, he's one of my favorite fictional characters. And as we all know, next year we are getting Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which is the quasi sequel to Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. Zack Snyder is also directing this film. And we also know that eventually they are going to be spinning off this Batman into his own solo film. Um, like we know that they're going to do that with Aquaman and Wonder Woman. That they are getting their own films post Justice League or close to Justice League. Yeah, I forget the actual dates, but anyway, yesterday we got some news on the solo Batman film that is in development. Because we know a lot about like Suicide Squad. We know getting information on Wonder Woman, Aquaman, but we haven't really heard that much about a possible Batman spinoff. And yesterday it was announced, it was rumored that Ben Affleck, who is playing Batman in Batman v Superman, may be directing the solo Batman film with a script by Chris Terrio, who wrote Argo, who I believe won the Oscar for Argo, which Ben Affleck directed. Chris Terrio has also co-wrote the script for Batman v Superman with David Goyer. Uh, so yes, so there is a possibility that Ben Affleck will be directing himself as Batman in the Batman. I think that's the rumored title, sort of like the Wolverine. So that's really fascinating. This will be the first time an actor has directed him or his herself as a superhero. Um, Actors have certainly directed themselves before, but never as a superhero. And it's kind of funny imagining Ben Affleck in his bat suit directing a scene. Um, so we know that, of course, along with Batman v Superman, Ben Affleck is also supposed to appear in the Suicide Squad film with Jared Leto as the Joker and Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. And of course, Will Smith as Deadshot. Deadshot and Harley Quinn, I believe, are going to be like the central characters of that film. But we know Batman's going to appear in that in some capacity. There was some set videos of car chase between Batmobile and Joker's pink Lamborghini. So they are making Batman a presence in this franchise. I know some would say they only know Warner Brothers, DC only knows how to do Batman. Uh, but anyway, so I kind of want to talk about what I think they're going to do in a possible Batman spinoff in this universe, and also kind of what I would want from a Batman film. Now, I really like the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, but I am looking forward to a more comic booky kind of Batman, which he really didn't really completely get in the Nolan films because he sort of approached the whole Batman mythos sort of in a quasi-realistic way. I think the closest we got to a more comic book kind of Batman was in the first film, Batman Begins. But with this franchise, with this universe, I feel, even though people have said, oh, they're going the realistic route, the dark route, I do. Certainly, Man of Steel was very serious, and Batman v Superman looks very serious. I don't think they're going down the sort of necessarily realistic route, even though Man of Steel did kind of play itself as what would happen if Superman came to Earth. I think they're still gonna bring in a lot of the pulpy comic book aspects to this universe. I think Man of Steel was kind of a pulpy sci-fi invasion thriller. Um, so I do think this is going to be a more comic book esque universe than I think people are thinking it will be. Certainly, maybe a more serious universe, but I don't think we're gonna get like a Dark Knight Rises kind of universe. I don't think the next Batman movie is gonna be like that. But what I think we're kind of gonna get in the next Batman film, which I hope we do get, is this idea of a pre-established rogues gallery. We do know that this is supposed to be the older Batman, and of course with Ben Affleck's casting, certainly this is not going to be a 30-year-old Batman. It's going to be an older Batman, and I really like the idea of Gotham City, its criminals kind of being established, which we never really got in the movies before. Yes, in the Tim Burton, Joel Schumacher films, Batman sort of, was around for all those years, but there wasn't a lot of continuity between those films. Cast changes, director changes. The villains would just die or go away in each film. And of course, in the Nolan films, Batman wasn't really around for that long. He was around for a year, and then nearly a decade passed. He came back. You did have the Scarecrow coming back in The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, but again, in those films, it wasn't like he had a bunch of criminals that he had fought before and that were kind of around. And we still kind of get that in superhero movies, even with the Marvel cinematic universe and there being continuity. We still don't really have, a sort of built up rogues gallery, right? Usually, even in the Marvel films, it's still like, okay, the villain dies, they go to jail, with the exception of Loki, and I guess you could say Crossbones from Captain America: The Winter Soldier. We're not keeping around the villains. And I kind of understand how you will want to keep around all these villains. You want to, keep things fresh by bringing in a new villain each time. Um, but I am looking forward to Batman already having met and already having relationships with these characters, like having a relationship with Harvey Two Face, having a relationship with the Joker, the Penguin, the Riddler, um, while and not necessarily having the film be focused on just one villain. I'm not saying that every single villain has to be in it, like shove in all the villains, but I would like the idea of this being like a sort of gritty detective mystery, something like The Long Halloween. Like I would kind of like to see that. Certainly, Chris Nolan took inspiration from The Long Halloween, but yeah, I would really like the next Batman film to be a detective mystery where Batman is kind of solving a crime and he'll like go to the Penguin to find out information. And he'll have a relationship with the Penguin and it'll be like that. Um, he'll have like run-ins with someone like the Penguin or May the Ventriloquist. Certainly, again, you won't want to shove in everybody. Um, but it would be nice to have that sort of lived in kind of feel of, okay, we're just sort of shoved into a story with Batman, and he has all this history with the city and its inhabitants. Um, if they did do like a central villain, I would say the Riddler. It's been 20 years since Batman Forever. We didn't really get the Riddler in Nolan's films. I kind of wish he did have a supporting role, maybe in Rises. I know that things would have to be changed a lot, but I understand why he wasn't in the Nolan Batman films, particularly after Joker. I see why they wanted to end the third film with a physical challenge instead of just another kind of scrawny, creepy, intellectual guy like Scarecrow or the Joker. Not to say these are all, the exact same character, but I understand why they wanted to go with Bane. He's a very stark contrast to the Joker and Scarecrow. But I feel like we gotten to the point now where it's like, yeah, let's bring the Riddler back. It won't feel kind of redundant. Um, it won't feel like, oh god, we already got the Riddler, before. It feels like enough time has passed that, okay, let's see the Riddler again, and let's have it be a sort of darker, twisted take on the character. Let's not have it be like the Jim Carrey version, which is entertaining, but he was very much just like Jim Carrey, like looking back at that film. Batman Forever. So, yeah, maybe have the film revolve around the Riddler. Maybe do something like they did in Zero Year, where Riddler took over the city. I mean, if you want to kind of do a bigger scale story, why not that? I kind of would like to sort of go for a smaller scale story. Like, I kind of want to see more superhero films that don't have to be so big. And certainly not all the Batman films have been that big. Like, Batman Returns was pretty small scale, and even the first Tim Burton Batman. But we went pretty big with Rises and even The Dark Knight, and that and Batman Begins, and I'm okay with that because Christopher Nolan was going for like this epic kind of scope, particularly with the latter two films, and the third film needed to kind of feel big to end the trilogy. But I kind of want them to do maybe something a little bit more intimate, something that isn't a traditional kind of superhero film where it's like you end the film with a big battle sequence and you have all these sort of plot mechanics going on. Everything is kind of bloated. Just a good fashioned detective mystery. Though I also wonder if they would ever go sort of like the Arkham Asylum route. Like I wouldn't mind that either. Do like an adaptation of that. I don't know if they would want to do that. If they did do that, it'd probably be the Joker as the main villain, and I'm wondering if I kind of want to see the Joker as the main villain yet. Yeah, because it feels like after the Dark Knight, it's kind of hard to do, Joker as the main villain story because it felt like The Dark Knight, while I won't call it like the definitive Batman film, like that movie had such a huge impact and the way they, executed the Batman Joker relationship in that, it was very, I thought it was very effective. So, I don't know. Certainly, I'm not against, doing a Batman Joker story, but I don't know if I want, for him to be the main villain and do, yeah. Though again, Arkham Asylum, that would be another way to do the multiple villains things without it being like too bloated or having to focus on one villain, all the time. Like even Joker wouldn't necessarily have to be the center of everything. He could just be, a supporting character in that. Like he's the one that sets things in motions, but you don't see a lot of him. Um, Sorry if I'm rambling. Anyway, yeah, Arkham City. I wonder if that would be something you would say for later, because that's sort of like a bigger thing. But Arkham Asylum could work as a smaller scale, but still kind of, kind of big story. So yeah, and Yeah, I am interested to see Ben Affleck and Jared Leto on screen together in Suicide Squad because I do love the Joker Batman relationship, and especially I'm interested to see him interacting with Harley Quinn too. You know, saying "Where is he, Quinn?" In that Kevin Conroy voice. Uh, but yeah, I'm also interested to see the Penguin again. Penguin's a character we haven't gotten for a while either. He wasn't in the Nolan films. Even Christopher Nolan said that it would be hard to do the Penguin in his universe. I'd be interested to see how they are interpreted the Penguin this in the DC cinematic universe because the Penguin, Danny DeVito's Penguin kind of grossed a lot of people out. A lot of children were traumatized. I'm wondering if they would want. I don't think they would go that far with it, but I could see them kind of doing something in between, like like in the Arkham games, or the later sort of comics, where he's not as grotesque as Danny DeVito, but he's close and yeah, he's a mobster. And he's Cockney. Yeah, he's Cockney in the Arkham games. So something in between like DeVito and a more sophisticated Penguin could work. Um, I would love them to draw inspiration from like Penguin Pain and Prejudice, which is it sort of is kind of it's one of the only real Penguin stories. There aren't a lot of I don't think there are a lot of stories that focus solely on the Penguin, but that is a very good Penguin story. And even though Penguin, I don't know if you could do him as a lead villain. He's definitely something who can work as a supporting villain. Um, and Poison Ivy. Again, like in Batman and Robin, I don't think Uma Thurman was bad. She kind of, she did play Poison Ivy, but I do want to see that character again and have it done a little less in the Joel Schumacher vein. And see her relationship with Harley Quinn. I know I'm talking more about the bigger sort of Batman. I'm going even bigger than just Batman and his film, but yeah. I know some people have suggested the Under the Red Hood story, which could work. I think that is a controversial story because think people like Jason Todd coming back. They did do an animated film version. Um, but yeah, that could work as kind of like a standalone Batman film, like exploring, the Jason Todd story, which, we've never really gotten the films. I didn't even know who Jason Todd was until later on. I only knew Dick Grayson. And supposedly Nightwing is dead. Oh god, that's a spoiler. Spoiler warning. Yeah, supposedly Dick Grayson is dead by the time we meet Batman. So I don't know. Um, yeah, if they would do Jason Todd, or if that'd be too much to have like two dead Robins. Um, but yeah, that could work. And maybe even I mentioned The Long Halloween before. Maybe do an adaptation of that maybe kind of set a few years before and is dealing with Harvey Dent becoming Two Face. Or dealing with a story where he first meets Robin, like Dark Victory. Like you could kind of maybe make this a prequel. I think they are going to maybe be jumping through times with these films, which would be interesting. It wouldn't have to be a linear thing. It could be, okay, this is set, post Justice League. This is set post after Justice League. This is set just before Man of Steel. This is set a little while after Man of Steel. Like, it can be interesting. Yeah, so now Ben Affleck directing. Now I think Ben Affleck could do really good work here because he has done sort of crime noir films with Gone Baby Gone and The Town. Um, Certainly, I think he's got a handle on that kind of storytelling. Though certainly he's more of a Clint Eastwood type in that he's not like super stylish. He's more of the sort of invisible, you know, workman, journeyman kind of director. So I hope if he did do Batman, he would, you know, bring up the style a little more. And I hope he wouldn't like approach it too much like a Christopher Nolan kind of thing. Because I do want a more gothic Batman in these films, a more gothic Gotham City, rather than something that's just kind of like Chicago, which was like in The Dark Knight Rises. Um, so again, yeah, I do want a stylish Batman film. Even though I don't mind Christopher Nolan's style, he's not as visually um, stylish as other directors. So yeah, and I mentioned Arkham Asylum before. I kind of want to see more of Arkham Asylum in these films. We only got a glimpse of it in the Nolan films. We haven't really had a lot of Arkham Asylum in the Batman films, and I kind of want, even if we don't do an Arkham Asylum film, I would love to just kind of spend a little bit of time, more time in there. And his Arkham Asylum, sort of epitomizes what really differentiates Batman's villains from Mayar's supervillains, which is that they're not just criminals, but they're really insane. I know Spider-Man has his own kind of Arkham Asylum with Ravencroft, but yeah, Arkham really is it's such a crucial element of the whole gothic nature of Batman and how twisted that world is. And yeah, I also want to see a Scarecrow who looks more like the Scarecrow from the comics, where he's literally dressed up as a Scarecrow. I really like Cillian Murphy's performance, but I want to see like that kind of creepy, he's literally dressed up as a scarecrow. Um, um, yeah, and what else? Oh, and since this is going to be an older Batman, maybe we can see Oracle in a film. Because we got Batgirl and Batman Robin. They did do Oracle and Birds of Prey, the TV series that only lasted a season, but yeah, I think that would be interesting relationship to explore on film. The relationship between Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Barbara Gordon. Um, sort of when she was Batgirl. I don't know if there was really a firm relationship between the two, the same way there was between Batman and Robin. I don't really have a firm image in my head of that relationship, but once she's more of an adult, I kind of like that her, speaking into Bruce's ear, her being like Chloe, like her being Chloe to Batman's Jack Bauer, and she's being paralyzed by the Joker, um, all those years prior. Um, yeah, I'd like to see May Oracle in this film. Whispering into Bruce's ear as he's going on his missions. I did hear a rumor that Commissioner Gordon is going to be dead as well by the time we meet this Batman. I hope that's not true. I hope we get to see Jim Gordon in these films. Of course, if they do go backwards in time, they can show Jim Gordon. But yeah, I want more of the Batman Jim Gordon relationship, which was done really well in Nolan's films, but I kind of still want to see more of it. I want to see it even more like the comics, where Gordon is like this older guy, and Batman's calling him Jim. Um, so yeah. Sorry if this video is going a little bit long. I have a lot of things in my head. Um, I also wouldn't mind them doing like a voiceover, because in the comics, Batman a lot of the time he has voiceover. Uh, you know, characters do. A lot of comic book characters do, but I kind of want them to try that a little bit more with Batman. Like, have him narrate, get into his head. Um, Also, I'm interested to see what they do with Catwoman. Because Batman's supposed to be a little bit older. I wonder if they would cast Catwoman a little bit older, like around Ben Affleck's age, or if they would, or if they would want to have someone young, because you know, right? That's the way Hollywood is. Yeah. I wouldn't mind having a older Catwoman who's sort of been around for a while. Though, understand you want someone who still feels kind of young and sprightly. You don't want the gap to be too big. Uh, Ava Green. I mean, Ava Green's not that much younger. I mean, she is younger than Ben Affleck, but not by too much. I know she's been suggested before, but I think she'd be really good. Seeing her in Sin City and 300 and Casino Royale, she can play the femme fatale, but as in Casino Royale, have that more bring some humanity to it. Um, so yeah, that's I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about. Once more details start coming out, you'll have a better idea of what this film is going to be like. Maybe they're going to be planning it as a trilogy. You never know. Um, or maybe they're just going to make it more like each film is standalone instead of doing, like a trilogy. Because Marvel kind of hasn't done like a firm trilogy yet. Like the Iron Man films didn't feel like a necessarily like a trilogy, and the Captain America films don't necessarily feel like a trilogy. But anyway, we don't know. So, yeah, those are my thoughts for now. Sorry for rambling. I wanted this to be, I think, a little bit shorter, but yeah, those are my thoughts on the possible Batman solo film. So, comment below. Tell me, what do you want from a new Batman film? Are you happy with Ben Affleck's casting? Are you still skeptical? Are you looking forward to Batman v Superman? Um, so yeah, that's all for now. Bye everyone. Bye.